A tiger was given a live goat as food. The goat didn't run. And what happened next puzzled every wildlife expert watching, because instead of a meal, the tiger found a best friend. That story happened at a wildlife park in Russia, and it became one of the most watched, most debated animal moments of the last decade. But here's what most people don't know. It wasn't a one-time fluke. Across the world, in sanctuaries and the wild, predators are choosing connection over instinct in ways that scientists are still trying to fully explain. And we're going to take you through some of the most extraordinary ones today, ending on a bond so unlikely, so quietly devastating, that it honestly changed the way researchers think about animal emotion. But first, Amur the tiger and Timur the goat. It was November 2015 at Primorsky Safari Park in Russia. The park had a regular practice of feeding their Amur tigers live prey to keep their hunting instincts sharp. Timur, a small domestic goat, was placed inside the tiger enclosure as a meal. He was supposed to be dinner. The keepers watched through the glass, waiting for the inevitable. Timur didn't run. He didn't freeze either. He just walked toward Amur, right toward a full-grown Siberian tiger. And Amur, one of the most powerful land predators on the planet, stepped back. For 2 weeks, those two lived together in that enclosure, sleeping near each other. Timur apparently taking over Amur's sleeping platform on the first night and refusing to move, Amur letting him. Wildlife biologists flew in from across Russia to observe them. The footage went globally viral, and the question nobody could answer was simple: why? Here's the part that gets researchers every time. It wasn't fear. Amur had successfully hunted live prey before and after Timur. The dominant theory that emerged wasn't instinct failure. It was something that sounds almost too human to say out loud. Amur may have recognized something in Timur's behavior that triggered a social response instead of a predatory one. Timur acted like a companion, not prey, and the tiger's brain, wired as it is for survival, apparently had room for both categories. Now, before we go further, there's a question we need to hold on to, because we'll come back to it at the end. Is this about the animals, or is it actually about us and what we've built around them? The answer is more complicated than you'd think, because let's talk about Owen and Mzee. If you don't know this story, you're about to feel things. In December 2004, the Indian Ocean tsunami devastated coastlines across Southeast Asia and East Africa. In the chaos that followed on the Kenyan coast, a baby hippopotamus, estimated to be around a year old, was swept from his pod and left stranded on a reef near Malindi. It took a team of over 100 volunteers to capture and transport him. He was terrified, exhausted, and completely alone. He was brought to Haller Park, a wildlife sanctuary in Mombasa. The staff named him Owen, and then Owen spotted a 130-year-old Aldabra giant tortoise named Mzee. Nobody expected what happened next. Owen ran straight to Mzee and pressed himself against the tortoise's shell. Mzee, famously antisocial and known for hissing at other animals, didn't move away. By the next morning, they were sleeping curled together. Within weeks, they were inseparable, eating together, swimming together, with Owen following Mzee around the sanctuary like a shadow. Researchers believe Owen may have been drawn to Mzee because the tortoise's gray, rounded shape loosely resembled the visual profile of an adult hippo. A baby's brain, desperate for a mother figure, found the closest available match and locked on. But here's what the researchers didn't fully anticipate. Mzee changed too. The tortoise became more social, more active, more engaged with the sanctuary. The relationship wasn't one-sided. It rewired them both. This is where the science starts to quietly challenge everything we thought we knew about instinct versus choice in animals. For a long time, the scientific consensus held that animal behavior was essentially fixed. Predators hunt, prey flee, social bonds form within species. Cross-species bonds were considered either exceptions or human projection. But the last 2 decades of research in animal cognition have shifted that view significantly. Studies out of institutions like the Max Planck Institute have documented what researchers now call affiliative behavior across species, meaning animals forming genuine, functional social attachments with individuals outside their own kind. Not trained behaviors, not reward-based conditioning, voluntary, sustained, reciprocal bonds. And it turns out the animals doing this most consistently are the ones we've built the deepest relationships with ourselves. Dogs and deer, cats and foxes, chimpanzees and dogs, a lion, a tiger, and a bear. Literally, Those 3 animals, rescued together as cubs from a drug dealer's basement in Atlanta, who grew up together at Noah's Ark Sanctuary in Georgia and remained best friends for over 15 years, right up until Leo the lion passed away in 2016. The other 2 visibly searched the enclosure for him afterward. That detail is not an interpretation. That is what the keepers observed. So back to the question we planted earlier. Is this about the animals or about us? The honest answer is, it's both. And that's what makes it matter. These bonds, Amur and Timur, Owen and Mzee, the trio in Georgia, almost all of them happened in places where humans had already disrupted the animal's natural context. Sanctuaries, wildlife parks, rescue facilities. The animals were removed from the social structures they would have had in the wild and left with a need for safety, for companionship, for something familiar in an unfamiliar world that they filled with whoever was available. And what they chose, over and over, was connection, not competition.
Not hierarchy, connection. There is something in that worth sitting with, because we tend to think of nature as ruthless, red in tooth and claw, every creature for itself. And nature is ruthless, it really is. But it's also apparently wired, even in a tiger, even in a 130-year-old tortoise who'd been alone for decades, with the capacity to reach toward something else, toward warmth, toward a friend. Timur and Amur's story doesn't have a perfect ending. Amur eventually injured Timur and they had to be separated, though Timur survived and both animals continued to live at the park. Owen and Mzee were eventually separated too, as Owen grew into an adult hippo and became too large and too strong for Mzee's safety. But both animals adjusted. Both had been changed by what they shared. Maybe that's the thing about real connection. It doesn't have to last forever to matter. It just has to be real while it's happening. If any of these stories moved you, and we really hope at least one of them did, tell us in the comments which bond hit you hardest. Was it the tiger and the goat, Owen and Mzee, or the trio in Georgia? We read every single one. And if you've got a story of your own, an unexpected friendship between your pets, or an animal moment that stopped you in your tracks, we want to hear that too. Hit that like button if this one was worth your time. It genuinely helps us find more stories just like it. We'll see you in the next one.